Hello, fellow warriors against consensus reality, lovers of truth, wisdom, the esoteric path, slayers of two-faced hypocritical gobshites who can't make up their mind whether they're male or female. Lovers of irreverence and sarcasm. Yeah, that's funny. It's good when you lose people along the way, when you're moving in a more upward trajectory, and toxic, unhelpful people, shall we say, are they shed themselves from your life like an old snakeskin, right? And it's kind of funny looking back. You can't help but laugh. I mean, on Facebook, when it's kind of amusing when the memories notification comes up, especially from a post back in 2012-13 about a now ex-female friend. And you look back and you realize, what the fuck was I thinking? Well, that's the thing. If you're in that position to do so, and you actually do have that response, well, that's a good thing, because it means you're different than you were back then, and you've traveled a distance since then. So that's a good thing. But I think today, amongst the myriad of different aspects of modern society and quote-unquote culture that I like to take the piss out of, the modern noxious rabid species known as the Karen is queen. Because for me, the Karen is an indication of exactly what's wrong with society. Anyone from, regardless of which tradition and spiritual culture, from any part of the world going back many years, will all say the same thing. The ideal is to talk less and listen more, and to take in more of that which goes on around you. Because a person who is more sure of themselves, who's more comfortable in their own skin, doesn't really feel the need to constantly blabber incessantly for the whole world to hear. Their ego minds are put in their useful place, instead of the constant me of the Karen. It's kind of funny. I was catching up, having a good chuckle with some of those with Karen videos from this wonderful public service channel called Karens in the Wild. If you're ever feeling annoyed or pissed off or sad about anything, watch one of those. And for me, the thing that got my attention is, first of all, when a person of either gender... I know, because there's two genders. Oh no! How revolutionary! When they enter Karen mode, two things happen. The voice volume increases, and the words spewed mindlessly out of their mouth increases. Number one. Number two, their sense of false entitlement and way overblown ego mind also increases, which includes a false sense of entitlement, privilege, all the rest of those wonderful toxic, noxious aspects of human character and society and community. The Karen's, one of the Karen's favourite catchphrases are, "I know my rights." Yeah, I know my rights too. the right to not put up with someone else's incessant blabbering. And unfortunately, we're living in a world where an overblown sense of privilege and entitlement is the norm, and is becoming the norm. And manners and consideration, or any kind of positive thought towards your fellow human being, goes right out the window. So they think it's cool, trendy and edgy to be a mindless, mouthy, inconsiderate cunt. And so because we live in such a jungle environment, as I call it, you learn the rules of the jungle and you act accordingly. It's kind of funny because my brother lives in the North Shore and plays the role of the privileged North Shore boy, and on the rare occasion he does go into town down here with me, I think perhaps some of my behaviour is a little bit surprising. I sort of turn to look at him and say, well, yeah, when you're in the jungle, you play by the rules of the jungle. Because Australia, of all Western countries, has the highest proportion of Karens in the Western world. Yes, more than the US. I know that's incredible. Australian Karens are really something else. And there's a reason why I've never ever had an Australian girlfriend in my entire life. And I never will. Because the typical Steve Irwin, Crocodile Dundee kind of nasally Australian accent is grating to my ears as the foreigner here. Let alone the worst expression is the female Australian accent. I'm going to be a little bit crude here. You want to talk about a dick softening exercise? You listen to an Australian woman talk for a while. Wow. It's just as bad as a fat ugly British Karen. I know a couple of you guys can actually confirm that for me. Especially UK, if you're the expert of British Karen detection. But see, along with that, any kind of class, which is what I'm getting at here. In today's world, class is devoid, because somehow in the warped, inverted, perverted way that people do things here, being mouthy and over the top Karen is idealized somehow. Somehow they think that makes them strong and empowered. Whereas in an environment where class is devoid, possessing and showing class becomes revolutionary, right? And the same world where, in a world where people ask me why I enjoy my own company so much, because now that my elderly mother has cut the mortal coil and left her meat bag behind, and caught the express lane to the afterlife. Now that I'm totally living alone, not being a carer, not doing any of that crap anymore. I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy, by the way. Caring for a dementia elderly parent is its own special kind of hell. But now that I truly live alone, I can't tell you, I can't express the true depth of peace of mind that you get. So that even during your darkest days, you actually feel a little bit better than you otherwise would have, because you don't have anyone to see that you at your darkest, and you don't have to put up with people's incessant blabbering, unless you're actually jogging by, little puffy jogs, having conversations at the top of their fucking voices at 6 o'clock in the morning. So that's one of the benefits of all this rain. No mouthy assholes walking and jogging past. So that's one good thing. But in a world where the artificial has become the norm. I mean, you look at that typical city, how few trees do you see? And I just find that horrifying beyond belief. I'm not a city person. I never have been a city person. I never will be a city person. Being, among other things, sensitive to other people's energies means that cities become its own special kind of hell. I'm happiest when I'm away from most people. In my own, being the lone wolf and the hermit, that's just the way it is. There's a reason why all the sages and monks and all these type of people for countless millennia. That's right, Gobshite. You thought there was a break in the weather, said go for a bit of a jog, and now you're going back up. But there's a reason why a lot of these sages and mystics and monks throughout the millennia sought solitude, because in solitude you really connect with your wholeness, your oneness, your infinite awareness, right? Where you learn to control and muzzle the ego mind and put it in its place. Because yeah, the ego mind does have its place. It helps with your sense of self and your expression thereof. But in this world where people just won't shut the fuck up, silence becomes even more valuable and sought after. And natural places become more sought after. The groves and the nature reserves and places away from suburbia and cities and full of trees and birds and animals and things growing. And it's kind of funny, like I mentioned this before, living here in Australia, the more angry racist ones are not the full-blooded Aboriginals. They're the half-breeds, the quarter-breeds, and the eighth-breeds. They're the angriest. They're the, oh, this is my man, white man. Yeah, they're the mouthy, angry cunts. There was actually a full-blooded Aboriginal family that I knew that lived 2 houses over. I was, 7 years old. And Terry, the father's name was, and the 2 little girls, they were 2 or 3 years younger than me, so we went to the same primary school. So we had this is the 70s, so there were no 1001 rules of getting into a car, We all went, he had a panel van. And so the 3 of us were in the back, no seats, no seat belts. It was great fun, especially when the car turned, around the corner. That was awesome. But there's one thing he said back then which I've never ever forgotten. He said, the way Aboriginals talk, he goes, always remember, brother, we don't own the land owns us. And for 1700 years or so, the Abrahamic Gobshites have totally forgotten that. And once again, I'm proud to report that people are reclaiming the old ways. There's an increase in people in Europe becoming pagan. I mean, as I said, in Iceland there's now a pagan temple for the first time, for almost 1,000 years. Because when their pathetic, evil Bible says that people are stewards of the earth, they think that means they can rape, pillage and plunder the earth as much as they want, because they're the only animal, they're the only creature in this world who has any value. Everything else is there to be used and exploited, right? No, we are one species in this world, all right? And that's one thing people are forgetting these days, and have forgotten for 1700 years. And with the reclamation of the old ways, hopefully more and more people are starting to remember the old ways and remember our place in this world. And I mean, in the old days, whichever tradition you look back on, whatever people took and used, they put back somehow. I mean, even here, in traditional societies, they had what was called controlled burning, because there are certain species of flora in this country which only propagate, and the seeds spread and come out of their pods only through fire. And so there was controlled burning. That not only did that help the flora to germinate and grow and all the rest of it, but it also helped control bushfires, because the trees in this country, which are predominantly eucalyptus, they are 10, 15, 20 times more combustible than pine resin. They're the most combustible trees in the world, which is why Australia has traditionally had issues with bushfires. Right? Now, because the greenies and the hippies and the lefty assholes decided to say, oh, no burning, ooh, the environment. This is why 3 years ago, they had here the worst bushfires in history, because there was no backburning as traditionally has been done. And because all the weeds and everything else had time to grow during the last 10, 15 fucking years, presto, the worst bushfires we've had here. All right. So those people who think that this Abrahamic gobshite 18th, 19th century Industrial Revolution materialist thinking is progress, and pouring shade on the the primitive superstitious societies. Well, guess which societies have been proven more wise and correct now. So it makes my heart glad that the Abrahamic gobshite religions are, especially Christianity, are dying a slow, painful death. That makes me extremely happy. They are cancers on the rump of human society and history. They really are. And once we realise that we are part of nature instead of its masters and conquerors, the better off we will be. And it makes me happy to hear the rain. Fuck it. Yes, it means that the lawn is higher, but you know what? It means no gobshites. So I'll take that. And always remember, to speak the truth is a lonely path. The sarcastic, irreverent, proudly heathen, hammer-wielding lone wolf and monk on guitar, out.